Hi everyone, welcome. I'm sorry I haven't done a video in a week. It's just been winter in South Africa, and despite my best intentions, I was hit with a scratchy throat and stuff. So I took some time out because I couldn't even talk. So my voice is still coming together. But yeah, I'm just going through a situation. Well, not me actually. I'm just kind of mediating a situation where there's these wonderful people, and I can just sense that they are wonderful at heart, wonderful wonderful human beings who are caught up in an ugly situation where they are fighting with each other, and they've gone to the police station and they've got lawyers involved, and they're dealing with a situation, and the details are irrelevant actually. So I was in the fortunate position of being able to help where I can. And when I say fortunate, I'm saying that because my thing recently, this past couple of, I would say maybe 2, 3 years specifically, especially these past few months, the emphasis has been on, okay, can I think outside of myself? And I've been challenged to do so, and I've been asking for that, you know, to not think of me all the time, number one. Um, so that's been big. And number two, can I see myself in others? And that's a bit tricky, especially when you're in a challenging situation where there's hate involved, and there's big dark emotions, and the relationship is just completely destroyed, seemingly so, you know. And then the other thing, there's no separation between you and others, and there's no separation between you and God. And how do I serve in that context? How do I serve? Situation A comes up, you think, you pause. How do I serve? Situation B comes up, just goes on, and you initially so used to thinking about yourself and your preservation and your survival and what can you get out of it, not from a selfish point of view necessarily, although it seems like that on the surface. But when people are behaving that way, it's really about their survival. you know that is what it's really about. So it's not really personal, and I'm seeing that more and more in others and in myself. So I'm there to serve basically, and it's coming up in different, since I've made that intention, it's coming up in different ways. And I know when I was fighting with people, and when I was running to lawyers, and I was filled with anger and humiliation, and I wanted to get back, and I wanted revenge. And I look back and I can see myself in these people. So, and not that I always have to go through something to be able to understand or empath or or show empathy, but it's more to be able to really hold that space for others that are going through a hard time. So anyway, these people are, I'm looking at them, and I tried to 2 weeks ago I tried to silently in my meditation just send peace and love on the situation, and I just didn't want to get involved in who said what to who and all the hate back and forth, and people putting things in court documents and getting orders against each other, and really really ugly stuff. And I just kept on just sending light and sending peace on the situation. And also, when you do that, when you in that position, in that great position of serving others, when you do send light and love and peace, don't dictate where that peace and light and love goes. Divine and their higher selves and the highest vibration knows exactly where it needs to go, how it needs to translate itself in the linear world. The only thing you have to do is see the best in them and keep seeing that. That's how you serve. You hold that vision of the best peaceful outcome. How that comes about is up to divine, it's up to the universe, So I kept doing that, and it was fantastic. I felt good doing that. And when I spoke to them yesterday, it was a nightmare, and my ego stepped in and said, "Oh well, clearly this didn't work. You sending peace and love and stuff didn't work." And I just stepped back, recognized my ego talking, and just let it just. I just the minute you observe the ego, it completely deflates like a balloon. Pinprick a balloon, it just deflates. So it loses its power. You just got to observe, and then it loses its power. So I just kept speaking to them, and when I was speaking to both parties, it was incredible how they were just so caught up in what they perceived to be their reality. So each side had a perception of the other, and each side was filled with rage and hate and all sorts of emotions that I was observing. And when you're in that position of being triggered by somebody, either at work or in a legal situation, or with your spouse or your family or your kids or friends, whoever, whatever the situation is, you get so caught up in your perspective and in I'm right and they are wrong, and that person they are right, and they are wrong and I am right. So each side is holding on to that perspective so dearly, but it's actually your program that's playing out here, your subconscious program that's playing out here. And when you start working with subconscious programming, you'd recognize when you're programmed like an app on your phone, the program comes up just like an app on your phone. It comes up and you recognize the program is running, and then you completely pause the program and you work to deleting that program, replacing it with the right program. So when you start working with yourself, when you start really, really getting to know yourself and debunking and kicking out the things that aren't real anymore, you start to not give any airtime to that program. But the two parties involved were so caught up in their emotions. The one lady I was talking to was just crying and couldn't stop crying and heaving, and she had this whole victim narrative, and the other person who was the perpetrator also had a victim narrative. So they both were looking at each other, and it's a case of one finger pointing there and 4 other fingers are pointing backwards, and the emotions were on both sides were obviously, it sounds like anger, but what's beneath the anger, because anger kind of calibrates, let me just see, anger calibrates at 150 on the consciousness scale. I'm just looking at my consciousness scale chart. But I started seeing other emotions involved. There was grief coming through, humiliation, shame, regret. But they were so caught up, it was like an avalanche, a snowball that had gained momentum, and the force of it was already there, so they were already caught up in their narrative that they were holding on to as right and as justified. And you want to just be aware of those emotions, because those emotions of shame and guilt and regret and I'll actually just give it to you, despair, blame, humiliation calibrates at 20, shame at 20, it's the lowest level, guilt 30. This is all on the David Hawkins scale of consciousness. Fantastic, brilliant. If you look at this diagram, just looking at it, you will be amazed. I'll try and see if I can I think I have it up here just to show you. It's online, it's something like this. Sorry, you can't see, it's gone again. just looking at it will immediately wake you up, immediately just looking at it. So you want to be able to recognize when your emotions are there, because shame and humiliation calibrated 20, and they're literally just above death, way below anger. Anger is actually 150 and fear is 100. So when you start raising up, like when you want to operate 200 and above, on the scale of consciousness. And when you recognize that you're in your anger, you're in your humiliation, you're in your fear, you're in your regret, you're in your shame, the best thing to do when it's at the height of its emotion, and when the story, you just can't stop the story in your head. The story is going on and on and on. What they did to you, what they said, you just can't get over it. You can't get over it. The best thing to do is just go to bed. I know that sounds crazy, but go to bed, go and sleep. And try and put a good thought in your head before you knock off to sleep. The other night I put on some YouTube videos that were just making me laugh. So I just put on these things of epic fails where people, I know it sounds silly, but they're doing something, and then they fall or they trip, and it doesn't sound good as I'm saying it now, but it just was so funny. It's just this funny video. So put on something funny, like something funny in nature, something that's gonna get you to laugh. Distract yourself and go to bed, and set the intention before you go to bed that just one sentence, a real sincere intention that you just want to hand this horrible feeling over. You hand it over to the highest. You don't know what to do, so you're handing it over. I don't know what to do. I'm handing it over to you, God. I don't know what to do. I'm handing it over to you. Like Florence Scovel Shinn says, let God juggle the situation, And even though you don't want to think good of them, you want to just say, I just want to see the best in them. And that's all you do. You just don't try to figure it out. Don't try to be a better person, or beat yourself up for not being a better person. Don't try to reach for God consciousness or Christ consciousness in that moment. Just go one step higher, just one step higher up the consciousness scale. That's it. Just move from shame to guilt. I'm calling it out to you. Guilt operates at 30. From guilt to apathy. Apathy operates at 50. Vibration-wise, frequency-wise. From apathy to grief operates at 75. From grief, 75, to fear at 100. Fear at 100 to desire at 125. Desire at 125 to anger at 150. Anger to 150 to pride at 175. So, for example, if you're upset about something and you haven't done well in a public speaking scenario, you went to go and speak at a public discourse, and you just felt like humiliated and ashamed, and you didn't do so well. So you go through all the emotions, right? And then you're angry at yourself and others, or the organizer for putting you in that situation, etc., etc. And as you're moving up the scale, you then take pride that you now going to do something about it. You're going on a course. You've got some pride in yourself. You've moved up from anger to pride, and then that's 175. Then from pride to courage, that's where it breaks. That's where it breaks. You move away from survival, all these low emotions, and you move up the scale of consciousness, And courage is where you start doing something about it. You apply for the course, for example. And then you start moving up, And that's all that's required of you. Just to go one level up, to be aware of your emotions, because they all seem like a jumble in that moment. Just to be aware of it and go up to the next level. That's it. In that moment, in that triggered moment, in that anger and that hate, and you don't actually know what it is. Get to know what it is. Get to know what it is. What is it exactly? Is it shame? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it resentment? And that's going to allow it to pass through you in a way better way. And once you do that, The ego is no longer in the driving seat where your actions are now coming from this place of survival, right at the bottom of the scale of consciousness. Because from that place of survival, you're starting to act. You're starting to call lawyers, call the police, send off 100 emails to these people and WhatsApps. You're starting to use all the tools of technology against you. Okay? You're starting to put out, meet hate with hate, and that's an epic fail. And meet anger with anger, that's an epic fail. Nobody wins, you know. So you want to set your intention. What do I want to do? I want to deal with lawyers in the most amazing way. I want to speak to a lawyer about my business, about my protecting my patents. How do I set up this type of model? What do I do with this kind of idea I have, legally speaking? How do, that's what you want to get into, these exciting conversations with lawyers. Not how do I take this person down? How do I protect myself? How do I teach them a lesson? How do I exact vengeance? So think about where it's coming from. I mean, I was like that. And now I'm a lot more conscious of it. And it's chalk and cheese. I cannot tell you, it's 180. It's a 180. You want to move from that lower level up, And I can tell you, don't even send that text. Don't even send that message. Just pause. Even if you're in the grip of ego and the grip of anger and grip of hate and fear and all of that stuff, make it a promise to yourself not to act. Because I've seen how destructive it can be. And I know from both these parties that they don't want this. They don't want this. And they think that the external has done something to them. The external has not done anything to them. It's just a mirror of what was going on inside you, because both of them, I can see as an outsider, I can see that they brought this on. They brought each other to the table in this manner, much as I have in the past and you have in your life. So it's not a case of, oh, I'm this person. I've made these mistakes today. It's I've done things yesterday and today and this morning, and how do I be better than what I was this morning? That's all it is. It's not, I keep saying this, it's not better than anybody else. It's better than who you were an hour ago. Okay? So set your intention. My intention is I want to use lawyers in the most exciting way that complements my creativity, my passion, my drive, my vision. That's where I want the lawyers to be prominent in my life. And yes, you're going to slip and fall and slip and fall, and you're going to fall out of an alignment and come back in and out. And that's the game. That's the game. That's the game. And you get more used to it, and you get more familiar with it, and you get more nuanced about it. Just like you are nuanced right now about anger and hate and gossip and revenge. We're very sophisticated about those things. We need to get sophisticated about higher vibrational things, So you set your intention and you say, this is what I intend. With every fiber of my being, I want change, and I want to deal with lawyers, for example, in the most exciting way. And then when you slip and fall and slip and fall and slip and fall, there's that part of you that remembers the vow you made inside. And that starts coming to the fore more and more and more. When you're out of alignment, you remember your vow, and that starts taking shape. And the more you give attention to that, attention, when you pay your inattention goes to that, to those things. The more you do that, the more you do that, the more you do that, it becomes a habit. It's starting to become a habit. That's when you see the people materialize in your life and the opportunities, and you start seeing your life changing. Right now, if your life isn't the way you want it to be, all that is an indication that you need to just figure out what's going on inside. That's it. That's it. It's just an opportunity. It's an opportunity. So when things don't go wrong in my life, as hard as it is, and I'm struggling with something at the moment, and I've prayed about it and I've given it up because I'm just not there. And I'm like, but throughout the struggle that I'm going through, I keep saying to myself, I've created this. I take total responsibility. I want to look at it better. Please give me the guidance. And I'm getting the guidance on how to deal with it. We all have those moments where we all fine and everything's dandy. And there's just this one thing that gets to all of us. And we just cannot be objective, and we cannot be, turn the other cheek, and we just can't be all, la da da about it. But so we all have that. We all have that. We all have that line. Some of us have many lines. So yeah, it's about being aware of what you're saying and what you're doing, actions and words, and where is that coming from? Which place inside of you are you putting the radio channel on that's broadcasting to the rest of the world? Just get awareness on that, okay? Awareness is a powerful thing. Powerful. I feel like swearing now. FK. That's how effing powerful it is. Awareness. Because do you know what that means? That means that you're stepping outside of yourself and you're observing. And when you step outside of yourself and you observe yourself, that's the power. That's power. Now you're stepping into the territory of what creates worlds and what creates magic and what creates miracles and what drives everything. That's the territory you're stepping into. You're stepping into the field. Understand when you do that. Understand. So your story diminishes. Your story of right and wrong, what they did, it all just loses its momentum. And you're able to act from a different place. Up here instead of down there. So this was a long one. It had, I don't know where I was, I don't prepare for these videos. And the more and more I'm doing that is because I'm stepping and I'm being guided on what to share and what to say. And I'm just trusting that more and more. Because it's coming from the place where somebody out there needs to hear this. Whether it's now or whether it's whatever time is right, And I know that I'm being guided, and I know that I've asked for that, and I know that that's a path that I want to walk on more and more, So I've got to give a shout out to all these people that are fighting for this video. I give content credit to them. And yeah, when you have the opportunity, just send love and send peace. It's powerful. I thought it didn't work, and don't be phased when it looks like it doesn't work. That's when you just keep going with it. Keep going with it, Okay. Thank you. Bye.